Springwater of February 19th, 2025 come to order at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Please join me in the singing of O Canada, and this is a recording from the Forest Hill Public School. Councillor, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest this evening? I'll be declaring interest at item 6.1 on our agenda. I'm not seeing any others. Oh. Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. I'll be declaring a conflict of interest on item, I believe, 9.6 bursary.
Thank you. And may I have a mover and seconder to call the public meeting to order, please? I have Councillors Fisher and Thompson. That the public meeting of council held under section 17, 21, 34, 51 of the Planning Act, applications for SU 2024-003, OP 2024-006, and ZB 2024-019 Stone Manor Woods Phase 5, and ZB 2024-020 of 1945 Floss Road West be called to order at 6:33 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. Welcome to this public meeting of the Township of Springwater Council held under section 17, 21, 34, and 51 of the Planning Act to give the public an opportunity to express their views in regards to the proposed applications and amendments. The first part of the meeting is to present the proposed application and or amendments. Following, the public will be given an opportunity to make oral submissions through the Zoom application or in person. Any person wishing to make an oral submission was to notify the township prior to 8:30 a.m. and been added to the commenters list. If a person or public body files an appeal of the decision of the Township of Springwater in respect of the Planning Act application and does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or a written submission to the township before the proposed amendments are passed, the OLT may dismiss all or part of the appeal. All comments and questions should be addressed through the chair. And our oral submissions will be included in the meeting minutes and form part of the public record, including the name and address of the speaker as information collected under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection Privacy Act. These minutes of the meeting will be posted to the township's website. First this evening, we have SU 2024-003, OP 2024-006, and ZB 2024-019, Stone Manor Woods. I will now call upon the clerk to confirm the notice of this meeting and dates to which notice had been given.
Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 29th day of January, 2025 to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 84 properties in the Township of Springwater within 120 meters of the area to which the proposed amendment would apply, and to all persons and public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies at a location visible from Sunnydale Road and Dobson Road. Notice was also posted on the township's website.
Has the planning department received any correspondence in regards to the notice of the public meeting?
Thank you, Mayor Coghlan. There have been 17 items of correspondence received for this application. Fire and Emergency Services in an email dated January 13th, 2025. Building Services in an email dated January 14th, 2025. Parks, Recreation and Facilities in an email dated January 14th, 2025. Enbridge Gas in a letter dated January 15th, 2025. Huron-Wendat in an email dated January 17th, 2025. Simcoe County District School Board in a letter dated January 21st, 2025. Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority in an email dated January 23rd, 2025. Hydro One in an email dated January 27th, 2025. County of Simcoe in a letter dated January 30th, 2025. City of Barrie Risk Management in a memo dated February 13th, 2025. 967 Sunnydale Road in an email dated February 17th, 2025. 983 Sunnydale Road in a letter dated February 17th, 2025. 21 Morrow Way in a letter dated February 18th, 2025. 955 Sunnydale Road in a letter dated February 18th, 2025. 959 Sunnydale Road in a letter dated February 18th, 2025. 989 Sunnydale Road in a letter dated February 18th, 2025, and 19 Morrow Way in an email dated February 18th, 2025. All of these pieces of correspondence can be found on tonight's agenda.
And thank you. And I will now call upon Celeste Phillips to provide the outline and purpose and effect of the subdivision application of the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment. Welcome.
Mayor and members of council, I'm pleased to be here with you this evening with staff and members of the public. I'm going to be speaking to you tonight, if you can hear me, hopefully, on behalf of the two property owners that own these lands. One property is owned by Stone Manor Operating Corp. The other is owned by Mr. Steve Ditta. I would be remiss if I didn't offer my regrets on behalf of Mr. Godfrey for not being here this evening. Like many people, he's been trying to get back to Pearson Airport for 2 days now, and I think he's actually in flight now. So I'm extending his regrets. As I mentioned, there are 3 applications that are being submitted, or as you mentioned, Madam Mayor, an application for an official plan amendment, a rezoning, and a plan of subdivision. There are 2 properties, and the properties are located at the northwest corner of Dobson and Sunnydale Roads. If we can go to the next slide, please. This is a context map showing the location of the properties and the relationship to the previous phases of Stone Manor Woods. As many of you know, Stone Manor Woods has been developed with 737 single-family residential homes. The surrounding uses include single-family dwellings to the north, to the west, and to the east, and to the south. And to the east is Dobson Road, and beyond that, agricultural lands that are located outside the center Vespra settlement area. So on this slide, highlighted in yellow, are the properties we're speaking about this evening, and we can move to the next slide, please. The total area of the properties is 2.9 hectares or 7.17 acres. The southerly property south of the hatch mark that you see on the screen, that is owned by Mr. Steve Ditta, and it is known municipally as 952 Sunnydale Road. It is occupied by a single-family dwelling. The property to the north of that is owned by Stone Manor Operating Corp. It is a vacant piece of property, but it is a block on a registered plan, and that is block 351 of registered plan 51M 1065. We move to the next 2 slides. I'm showing you very briefly photos of the property. The first one is taken from the southeast corner of the Ditta property, looking towards the dwelling that's on that property. So that's looking northwest. The next slide is a view of the north part of the Stone Manor Woods property or Stone Manor Operating Corp lands. This road that you see on the slide is Marks Road. On the right-hand side of the slide, you will see the single-family dwellings on the north side of Marks Road. And on the left-hand part of the slide is the northern part of the Stone Manor Woods property. The next slide is an extract from the County of Simcoe official plan. And as many of you know, the province, the county, and the township all encourage development to take place in settlement areas. This property, shown with the blue asterisk on this slide, is located within the center Vespra settlement area. settlement areas are identified in the county official plan with this gray tone. So you see the Center Vespra settlement area and the blue asterisk showing the properties that we're speaking about this evening. It's a fully serviced community. The next slide is what I refer to as an oldie but a goodie. This is an extract from Official Plan Amendment 28 that was approved in 2007, so that was 18 years ago. And this is an extract from the Center Vespra Community Plan. And the land use designations that were approved for these properties were urban residential and general commercial. Initially, when that official plan amendment was put before council, there was a commercial site shown on the north side of Sunnydale Road, but shifted to the west from what's shown on the slide here. It was opposite existing single detached residential dwellings on the south side of Sunnydale Road. And there was quite a bit of neighborhood opposition to that commercial site being in that location. So it was shifted to what you see on this slide, which is the northwest corner of Dobson and Sunnydale Roads. So the Center Vespra Community Plan, as I mentioned, was approved in 2007, and that red circle that you see on the schedule is what was contemplated to be a small commercial site. Back then, the possible uses contemplated were a video rental store, a convenience store, dental facilities, or perhaps a dry cleaning depot. And as many of you know, commercial shopping patterns have changed significantly in 18 years since the original contemplation of this site. So as an example, today we would rarely see a video rental store, and we rarely see a dry cleaning depot. And many folks are using online shopping rather than going to commercial sites. So the next slide is Schedule A5 of your official plan. And in the slide, in the reddish tone, is the commercial site. And the designation, in my opinion, far exceeds what is needed for this part of Springwater Township. The owners retained Parcel Economics, who conducted a retail market study. Their findings were similar. We don't have video rental stores or dry cleaning depots anymore. We do have convenience stores, but there have been changes in shopping patterns. And with the commercial uses on Bayfield Street, which are a significant draw, the viability of a commercial site of this size is not possible. So their suggestion, and this is Parcel Economics, their suggestion was a reduction in the size of that commercial site to something that would permit a 5,000 square foot commercial building and associated parking. It was important in their study to recognize and recommend that a commercial site needed to have exposure to Sunnydale Road. Because Dobson Road is a dead end, their feeling was that a small commercial site fronting Sunnydale Road would have the best chance of being viable at this location. So we'll move to the next slide. This is the existing zoning on the property, and you'll see that the southern part of the ownership owned by Mr. Ditta is still has an agricultural zone on it, and then the property to the north of that has a general commercial zone. And we'll move to the next slide. So this is the proposed concept plan, which is to maintain a commercial designation for a portion of the property, which is shown in red. And as I mentioned, that would allow for a small commercial building of 5,000 square feet and the associated parking with access from Sunnydale Road. The balance of the property is proposed to be used for single detached residential dwellings, and those are shown in the yellow color on this slide. And these would be lots of the same size as the previous 4 phases of Stone Manor Woods. So those would have frontages of 42 feet and 52 feet. And the gray section at the bottom of the slide close to Sunnydale Road is a proposed road widening that the county has requested. And then the blue on the sort of side facing Dobson Road is proposed as a linear stormwater management pond, and a similar type facility has been provided for the lands immediately to the north of this in a previous phase. With respect to parkland, we're not showing any parkland on this proposed plan of subdivision. In addition to the significant environmental corridor that Stone Manor Woods dedicated to the municipality, there already is 2 parks that have been dedicated totaling 12.8 acres. So under the Planning Act, the requirement is that 5% of the residential land and 2% of commercial land has to be provided as parkland. In this situation, the parkland dedicated by Stone Manor Woods actually exceeds the Planning Act requirements by 1.5 acres, even with these parcels being taken into consideration. The next slide shows the proposed zoning. So again, the yellow and orange tones represent the residential. The orange part in the top corner just reflects the 52-foot lots. The majority of lots would have the 42 feet of frontage. The commercial down in the bottom corner, and there would be access from Sunnydale, as I mentioned, and then the green tone represents that linear stormwater management pond. So that is the request for the rezoning. The next slide shows the actual draft plan of subdivision that was submitted. And as council is aware, you have authority to approve plans of subdivision at your level. No longer has to go to the county for approval. And then the last slide is a list of reports that have been submitted as part of the application process. And these include archaeological, engineering, traffic, environmental site assessment, servicing, hydrogeology, the retail market study, and a planning justification report. And I would note that we have reviewed the comments from the circulated agencies, and we will be responding to those comments and comments from the public as part of the next phases in the development process. I would note, however, that I did provide to the Huron-Wendat a few weeks ago their review fee, as well as the clearance letter that was issued by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism in 2010, which clears the property through all 4 stages of archaeological investigations. And we will be meeting with the County of Simcoe to discuss with them their correspondence that has been filed and referenced today. I also had a look at correspondence from a residence that was provided to me this morning, and I will provide a more fulsome response to that correspondence as we move forward. I would note that there were 5 letters from residents on Sunnydale Road, and they actually have referenced the fact that the commercial site used to be across from them, and it was shifted to this location. But there is a sense that they would like the commercial site to not be there or to be moved up to Marks Road. And as I mentioned, commercial sites have to have road exposure. So moving it up Dobson affects the viability of any commercial site. There were 2 letters from residents on Morrow. One of them was regarding the adequacy of schools. And as many of you know, that is a matter that's controlled by the school board. And we often see schools with multiple portables before we see funding for a new school. So there will be the standard warding clause that is inserted in subdivision agreements advising any purchasers that their children will have to be transported out of the area to schools, which is a standard condition these days. And then there was a comment from someone else on Morrow Road who referenced concern about trees being removed. And I just in response, very, very quickly, I'll say that 20 years ago, the environmental evaluation determined that the most significant part of the Stone Manor Woods property was that central environmental corridor. And those were the lands that were set aside for environmental protection. And so the trees that are on the site now were not considered to be of significance to retain an environmental protection category. They're part of the old plantation pines. So in summary, the lands are located in a settlement area where full municipal services are located. The residential development of a portion of the property represents infill development, which is encouraged by the province, the county, and the township. As mentioned, a commercial site has been contemplated here for 18 years. but the extent of commercial shown is not viable at the 7.17 acre size. The technical reports support the proposed development, and the approval that's being requested of you, members of council, is for approval of an official plan amendment, a rezoning, and a plan of subdivision. And that approval, in my opinion, is consistent with the policies of the province and conforms to the official plan for both the county and the township. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I will now call on our moderator to provide the number of people who have registered to ask questions or make comments regarding the application.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. There are 7 members of the public who have registered to make an oral submission for this application. First, we have Janet Tomlinson of 21 Oliver's Mill Road, who is virtual. You can go ahead.
Thank you. My question is for Ms. Phillips. It's regarding the commercial component. How many acres is, sorry, I might have missed it. You may have said it. How many acres is the proposed commercial component total? The new proposal,
The
Ms. Phillips?
0.62 acres.
0.62 acres. And you want to put a 5,000, or they have plotted a 5,000 square foot commercial building.
Correct.
What is the road name that I think you're showing it exits on into the new proposed residential lots? What's that road called? Trail?
If we can maybe pull up the last.
The map.
the
Thank
mapping.
you. And I believe I saw on there that there's some bollards, removable bollards or something like that. Is that my mistake, or is there?
Yes, if we go, sorry, your worship, if we go to the slide that shows the lotting, maybe we could put that back up. It's got the lotting, and it's got a building sited on the commercial part of the property.
Yes.
So in response to your question, the street does not have a name. It's just referred to
Okay.
as Street A. And it is, there is no more accesses permitted to Sunnydale Road, which is a controlled road by the county of Simcoe. So what we're showing is that access to the commercial site would be from Sunnydale Road, but there's the opportunity for pedestrian access through that Street A.
That's my question. Is the Sunnydale Road access, it's an in and an out?
Yes, it's a full move. turn.
Yeah. And then the other access onto Street A is not for vehicles.
That is correct.
Okay, that's good. I could not read that from the font size. Is there a drive-through permitted around this 5,000 square foot building? I can't tell from the setbacks, you know, mapping.
It's not something that's contemplated at this time, and I doubt that there's room. The uses that are permitted in the commercial zone, I'd have to defer to township staff about where drive-throughs are permitted. I'm not sure if they're permitted as of right in all general commercial zones.
Right. So how do we know it's a pedestrian only access? I mean, is it wide enough for vehicles? And, you know, I'm very concerned about that. I mean, having commercial traffic flow through a residential Street A is not a wise use of planning. So that's my comment today, is that I'm extremely concerned about the access from this commercial component onto a residential street of new homes.
Thank you for that.
Yes, I agree with the speaker, and in fact, that's why the bollards have been shown, so that there's no vehicular access from the subdivision through the new Street A. The access would be from Sunnydale Road.
Right. I assume the bollards would be technically proper bollards, like, you know, proper concrete, dug, all that. I mean, if it says removable, to me, that's a bit of a red flag, and I just wanted to make that concern known. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Tomlinson, and I will turn back now to our moderator.
Thank you. We have Heather and Jeff Harris of 983 Sunnydale Road. Let Mr. Harris unmute his microphone.
Hi, sorry, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay. So I was around when the initial development was planned, And as it was already spoken about, commercial zone was supposed to be out on Sunnydale Road, which we all objected to. It was moved to the current area at Marks and Dobson for those reasons that we expressed back then. We're now back going, you know, as you stated, what was it, 18 years later? And you're trying to push it back out onto Sunnydale Road. My concerns are, number one, Dobson and Sunnydale is a very busy intersection. The amount of traffic that we have seen increased with the subdivision of 783 homes or whatever it was you said. And now you're going to try and push more traffic coming in and out that close to the intersection. It was stated in your proposal that this commercial zone is supposed to be beneficial, servicing Stone Manor Woods. Then it doesn't need to be on Sunnydale Road. If it's servicing Stone Manor Woods, then it should be in Stone Manor Woods off of Dobson and Marks. It's already commercial. I've submitted my written submission and that which will be part of the minutes. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you. I'll leave it at that. I mean, I know I completely understand about making the commercial zone a smaller area, but you're concerned about affecting homes that were bought and built, knowing that that area was commercial zone off of Marks and Dobson, fully aware of it when they bought and built those homes. The residents along Sunnydale Road have been here for decades and bought here with a forest across the street, which we've had to endure a new subdivision, fine. But now you're trying to put a commercial property across from all of the homes that have sat here for decades, for 50 years or more. It should be in where the new homes are. If it's servicing Stone Manor Woods, let it service Stone Manor Woods inside the subdivision, not onto Sunnydale Road where it's already busy enough. Okay,
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
thank you.
And I will now turn back to our moderator.
Yes, we have Mr. Scott Fugslang of 19 Morrow Way, who is virtual. Just one moment.
Hey everyone, is my microphone
We can hear you fine, thank you.
great? So just as the last speaker said, I did write out a lengthy response, which will be on the minutes there. Just to touch on some of that, I understand that it's not the concern of Stone Manor Woods to set up capacity or solve capacity issues with the schools, but as of the 18th of February, I did contact both the local schools for the children, and they're both at 100% capacity. Spillover is going to a different school in Barrie, but I just don't know how we can go forward with a good conscience that we're going to be sending all these new potential families that are going to have to uproot their children later on. That's going to be detrimental. I just don't think that should just be kind of ignored. I have two small kids, and I wouldn't want that for them. I know that there was a study done, but we do have to keep in mind that these studies are only going to be used if they're supporting studies, right? So the concept that the traffic isn't going to be an issue, I don't see how it isn't right now. I'm a police officer, and I know that that intersection at Sunnydale and Dobson is quite dangerous, especially in the winter with the frequent stopping of vehicles, the slippery road conditions that are present there. I do think if things are going to change, which I hope they don't, that maybe a roundabout is put there to ease the traffic congestion there, to prevent future collisions, or potentially traffic lights be set up. I would like to see that, especially if there is a community, that if the community is going to increase more, and if there's going to be a commercial zone there. And then the other topic I just wanted to touch
will turn to the moderator. It does look like we've lost Mr. Bugsland. If,
Yep.
oh, and he's back.
Oh, sorry about that. What I wanted to touch on was the preservation of the township's rural character. In the 2022 Township of Springwater's official plan, there is the preservation of the township's unique rural identity. Currently, when you drive through Center Vespra, from Sunnydale towards Dobson, Stone Manor Woods is hidden by the trees that are in the proposed development site. Adding those 30 new homes is going to tear down those trees, and it's going to make this development very visible from the roadway. If it's the township's plan to maintain that rural character, I think that's going to be a degradation of that rural character. It's just going to start to appear as a extension of Barrie. I think that a commercial zone could work in that area where it is currently proposed off of Marks. I disagree entirely that it's a non-viable location for commercial sites. There's lots of stores and shops that can still be set up there. If you needed something large scale, even a daycare would be something that comes to mind for me that would serve the Stone Manor Woods community. Frequently, I see that a part of Facebook groups where people have discussions about how difficult it is to find daycare in the area, and maybe that's something that could work. Those are all my primary concerns right now. But just in general, by changing this from commercial, I do feel like it's going against the community's strategic goals, and I hope that that doesn't take place. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your comments, and I will now go back to our moderator.
Yes, we have Stacy McDonald and Robert Lang of 955 Sunnydale Road. I'll ask Stacy to unmute her microphone.
Good evening, councillors, mayor, moderators, deputy mayor, and council chambers. Thanks so much. I'm actually a past resident of this area. I actually used to live at the corner of Dobson and Sunnydale at 947. Today I'm speaking just on behalf of Robert Lang, who lives at 955 Sunnydale. What I could tell you in my time at 947 Sunnydale Road is that a portion of my property when I was residing there was expropriated by Mr. Godfrey and the development in order to put in a daylight triangle, a sight line, and that was to be kept free of any obstructions to ensure that there was visibility for the pedestrians and traffic in the area. Right now, even without any obstructions there, there is cars that come through that 80 zone and around that corner, and sometimes there just is not enough time to stop. I've witnessed multiple accidents outside of my window. My dog was also killed on that road because somebody did not see it run out. There is no visibility coming around the corner on Sunnydale Road, past Dobson. You know, I agree with the Harrises. You know, a battle has already been fought. You know, the commercial property was originally on Sunnydale Road, rezoned to be on Marks and Dobson to help accommodate the new population in Stone Manor. And now trying to retract on that. These people who live along Sunnydale Road, I have to just explain to you. I mean, it's coming from my heart. This community along Sunnydale Road has a culture like no other. These people who live along Sunnydale Road, their parents used to own those homes. The children have now taken them over. They have wanted to stay living in that area because it's on the outskirts of Barrie. It's only 2 minutes into Barrie. I timed it today. I mean, really, if you get a green going through Ferndale or Wilson and Sunnydale Road, I mean, you can get to the nearest convenience store in 4 minutes. You know, I don't really see the need to continuously disrupt these people along Sunnydale Road. They've already had to endure so much. The once scenery that they used to look at out of their windows from their homes was a forest and animals and, you know, habitat for animals. And now they're looking at 700 plus homes. They've already endured that. You know, I'm going to go with Scott on the safety. You know, he's a police officer. There's safety concerns with having a commercial property there and having an entranceway into that commercial property off of Sunnydale Road. I visit Rob Lang at 955 Sunnydale Road, and I'm sure the Harrises and other people along Sunnydale Road could speak to this, but it is hard enough for these people to get out of their driveways, let alone having the additional traffic because there's a convenience store across the road from them. Like, it is literally not possible. There's multiple accidents along there. And again, I'm going to echo Scott on the safety because he's obviously aware, quite aware of Sunnydale and Dobson and that intersection. You know, sorry, Scott, what I don't agree with is putting in a roundabout, a set of lights, having a Circle K possibly across the road where now these people have neon lights shining into their front windows. Sorry, I apologize. I did not realize I had not shut that off. So, you know, I mean, you know, it was already proposed to be on Sunnydale Road. These people fought hard because it wasn't a suitable place for it to be. It got moved over closer to the subdivision. The property is way larger. Looking at the plans and seeing how the homes are being built, it's probably running commercial across the front of that property. And I'm speculating here. Commercial running across the front of that property because the residential can't come out that way. So in order to be able to accommodate multiple more developments, they have to, the homes have to be pushed behind and the commercial over to that far corner. Again, there was a daylight triangle in place. Part of my property years ago was expropriated by Yorkwood Homes. Okay, I didn't want to give up that much of off a corner of my half-acre property, and at that time I did. But again, the daylight triangle was put in there because there has to be sightings. Those houses are coming right to the road in those plans. I'm not really sure, like, you know, what else to say here. You know, I'm on here for Robert Lang today to speak on his behalf, but I do know everybody who lives along Sunnydale Road. And I know that this is really detrimental to, you know, the culture that they want to continue to have in those homes. And already so much has changed for them. I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. And I'll turn back to our moderator now.
Thank you. We have Marie Flavel and Steve Young of 967 Sunnydale Road, who may be in person tonight, as I do not see them online.
I'm not seeing anyone come forward in chamber.
Next, we have Jose and Debbie Rado of 959 Sunnydale Road.
Good evening, folks. You can all hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Thank you very much for giving me time to, first of all, I submitted submitted a written submission with multiple points, but just in hearing what my neighbors have said, which I fully support, I have been living, and if you look at the concept plan, the exit of that commercial property is immediately out front of my property. So just a few points that came to mind. The trouble with traffic. My wife has to go to work just at the bottom of Ferndale Hill. She is deathly afraid of backing out and trying to get into our driveway. If she slows down out front to turn left, she's afraid of people ramming her, and they go up on the curb to pass her, doing 80 and a 50. Now that's you may say that's a speed problem, but I say it's a volume problem. With over 800 homes that you guys have built, or that the builder has built, let's just go with 2 cars average per home. That's 1,600 cars. 4 people per home, 3,200 people. And now you're proposing to build more. The commercial property, 5,000 square foot commercial building. If I may ask a question with all due respect, who of you would like to have a 5,000 square foot commercial building built out front of your home? And it's been death by 1,000 cuts for us here, because I retired from the military, and I'm sorry if I get emotional, but I feel this right to my core. I bought this home because it was forest out front. Used to watch deer and fox and rabbits and everything dart in and out of that. It's almost all gone. And now you're proposing to take the last line of trees out of there. And on top of that, increase the volume of traffic with a commercial building. I lost an 6-month-old border collie pup on this road to speeding vehicles. The guy never even stopped, just kept on going. My neighbor, who was just spoken about or for, he lost the front of his hedge for a guy coming around the corner. Didn't slow down because they want to do 80 through here. It's 80 before and 80 after, so they just do 80 right through or faster. I've witnessed 3 serious accidents in 2024 at Dobson and Sunnydale. And one point I may put that I did put in my written submission, I spoke to an OPP officer who had set up a speed trap just west here of our home. And it was the long weekend in May. And I think it was late afternoon, Friday afternoon, or I'm not sure if it was Saturday morning, but I went for my 5-kilometer walk and I managed to stop and have a chat with him, see how things are going. He had already issued 80 speeding tickets and had 3 vehicles towed for stunt driving. Folks, this is a residential area and it's being turned into a freaking, it's not country anymore, I'll tell you that. It's becoming suburbia, and now that's going another step above. So it has impacted us severely. I watched a beautiful forest out front be decimated. And now you're saying, or they're saying, that they've met all the requirements. There's a nice park and stuff inside Stony Manor Woods. What about the people that were here for 20 years before that? You know? There's a medical building down the road here on I don't even know the name of the road, just west of our residence on the north side. Why don't you add to that commercial area? That's a suggestion. What else have I got here? Acres of forest lost. Impact to our property values. My home's not a country home anymore. Anyway, I'm sorry I get emotional about this, but you guys it's been death by 1,000 cuts. Honestly, with this construction of this site has completely changed our perspective of where we live. And we are saddened by it because we don't have the peace anymore. Traffic all the time, morning, noon, and night. Weekends, Saturday, Sunday, weekends, long weekends even are the worst. So I ask that council please reconsider this and put that commercial unit inside of the development it was intended to support. I can go up here 3-4 kilometers and I'm at Walmart. So I don't need to go across the street to whatever is going to be built there. And I'm pretty sure most of my neighbors probably feel the same way. And I would please ask that you take the time to read my written submission, because it took a lot of our emotional strength to get the words down in paper, and it means a lot to us. And I'm sure it means a lot to my fellow neighbors who continue to be impacted by this. I didn't also mention my neighbor next door, Rob, lost a chunk of land. So did we. They put an attorney in out front. They took 6 feet away, destroyed a 20-year-old lilac I had there. Oh, sorry. Come on, folks. I've been here since 2008. I was here before any of this, and I bought it because it didn't exist. Please help us. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mateo. And I will turn back to our moderator for the last registered commenter.
Thank you, Mayor. We have Jennifer and Darren Bontanus of 989 Sunnydale Road, who may be in person tonight.
And if you are, please do come forward. And I'm not seeing them. Thank you to our moderator. And at this time, I will just ask if there's any additional members of the public that would like to make an oral submission regarding this topic. And not seeing any, I will now turn to members of council for any comments or questions on this. And not seeing anything. Thank you to all who participated in the public meeting with respect to the proposed subdivision application, official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and for showing an interest in the matter. Thank you, Ms. Celeste. We will now move on to ZB 2024-020 of 1945 Floss Road 8 West, and I will call upon the clerk to confirm notice of the meeting and the dates to which notice was given.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Notice of this public meeting was mailed on the 29th day of January, 2025 to the owner of the subject lands and to the assessed owners of 9 properties in the Township of Springwater within 240 meters of the area to which the proposed amendment would apply, and to all persons in public bodies as prescribed under the Planning Act and its regulations. Notice was posted at the assessed property to which the proposed amendment applies at a location visible from Floss Road 8 West. Notice was also posted on the township's website.
Thank you. Has the planning department received any correspondence in response to the notice of public meeting?
There have been 3 items of correspondence received for this application. Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority in an email dated January 30th, 2025. Enbridge Gas in an email dated January 31st, 2025. And from Building Services in a letter dated February 3rd, 2025. This correspondence can be found on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. And I'll now call upon the presenter to outline the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment. And I believe it's Kevin Imhoff. Perfect. Come on down.
How's everybody doing?
Great, thank
Sorry,
you.
first time.
That's okay. Thanks for scaring us there. But I'm just gonna ask if you can just pull the microphone as
Sure.
close as you can. Thank you.
Yeah, so simply I'm just trying to build a detached accessory garage for my boats and trailer and cars and sleds. So that's the hope.
Excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thanks.
Man cave,
Yes,
noted.
that's it. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So at this time, I will just turn to the comments and questions. I will turn to the moderator, see if there has been any comments or questions received.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. There have been no members of the public who have registered to make any oral submissions for this application.
Thank you. And I will now turn to members of the public to see if there's anyone that has any comments or questions to come forward, please. And not seeing any members of council have any comments or questions on the application. Well, that was it. Thank you to all those who participated in the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and for showing an interest in this matter. Thank you. May I have a mover and seconder to adjourn the public meeting, please? I have Councilors Moore and Alexander, that the public meeting of council held under section 1721-34-51 of the Planning Act, SU 2024-003, OP 2024-006, and ZB 2024-019 Stone Manor Woods Phase 5, and ZB 2024-020 of 1945 Floss Road 8 West does now adjourn at 7:21 p.m. All those in favor? And that has carried. May I have a mover and seconder for the direction following the public meeting, please? I have Councilors Garwood and Moore. That the council having held a, oh, make sure, I feel like I skipped one. Yes, I did. My apologies. So it's been moved and seconded that council having held the public meeting in accordance with section 1721-34 and 51 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, and CP 13 as amended for the draft plan of subdivision U 2024-003 Official Plan Amendment, OP 2024-006, and Zoning Bylaw Amendment, ZB 2024-019 by Celeste Phillips on behalf of Dita and Stone Manor Operating Corp. Having noted correspondence and input be received, direct that the application be referred back to staff. Councilor, are there any comments or questions? Deputy Cabral, was that a card that I? No, okay. All those in favor? And that has carried. And a mover and seconder for the second. I have Councilors Fisher and Moore. That the council, having held a public meeting in accordance with sections 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 and CP 13 as amended for zoning bylaw amendment ZB 2024-020 of having noted correspondence be received, directed the application be referred back to staff. Not seeing any further comments or questions. All those in favor? And that has carried. And at this time, I will need to pass the chair, and I don't. Councillor Thompson, would you be willing to do this part? Thank you.
I will now call on Nicole Wilson and students of Elmville District High School to present. And may I have a mover and seconder to that's after there. Okay. I can read.
Hello, members of council. I am Matthew,
And I'm Sophie.
and we are here on behalf of the Elmville District High School going on an exchange trip to the Ochees First Nation.
We will be flying out to Toronto, Pearson to Edmonton, a flight that will roughly take around 4.5 hours.
Can we have slide 3? And next slide. Ochees First Nation is located in Treaty 6 near the Rocky Mountain House. Roughly 70% of the Ochees people speak Saute fluently, and culture is very important to them, so it is practiced regularly.
Next slide, please. During our time away, we will be doing things such as having new foods like Spam and Bannock, as well as having a talk with elderlies about treaties, and a hike onto the Great Rocky Mountains and sleeping in them.
And next slide. The trip is of course not complete without the Ochees kids coming here, and activities in this area we will be doing are things like going to Toronto, Niagara Falls, the Simcoe County Museum, and treetop trekking, just to name a few.
Next slide, please. This is more than just a trip. We are getting to know each other while spending time during this trip, allowing us to remember this experience over the times of our lives.
And next slide, please. So far, we have raised approximately $8,000 for hosting the Ochees through various ways, including a chili bake sale, donations, and even a polar plunge at the Penetang Winterama. We will also be holding a silent auction at the Maple Syrup Variety Night.
Next slide, please. Culture exchange involving students, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous, needs access to willing and engaged youth. EDHS prides itself on being able to offer this program at minimal cost to participants. Cost typically falls in the $200 to $300 range per family. Funding in our community provides leadership opportunities to our youth and establishes a team approach to the exchange. In addition, this exchange provides our community an opportunity to support our youth, while also learning about the heritage and culture of distant Indigenous communities.
And next slide. We are asking for the Springwater Council to approve $2,000 from the Springwater Swing Charity Golf Tournament in support of this exchange to help us work towards being a community that celebrates its local culture and heritage. And that's all.
Well, thank you, Matthew and Sophie, for that exceptional presentation. You make me almost want to go back to high school, as I've over the years we've watched all the exciting adventures that the students of EDH get. This is very exciting, and kudos to you and to the teachers that support this important endeavor for our community. So, oh, can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Moore and Councillor Fisher, that the delegation from the Elmville District High School regarding the donation request for the student exchange to the Ochese First, did I say that right? Yes. Ochese First Nation, Alberta be received. Are there any questions from council on this motion?
Once again, thank you for the presentation. Just how many students will go from Elmvale, and would it be the same number of students come from the reserve back here?
I believe we have 16 students coming from Elmvale, and I believe around the same coming from Ochese.
Could actually, I just would like to say I'm very impressed that you guys raised $8,000. You know, we recently had a group come in and ask for money from us, but they had raised money as well themselves. So I really think that, you know, I call it having some skin in the game really counts for something. And frankly, you guys have raised far more than you're asking for. What sort of things did you do to raise that money?
We have done a chili bake sale. We've got donations from different businesses, and we've done a polar plunge for the Winterama, as well as, and we're going to be in the future holding a silent auction.
Good for you guys. I think that's really good. You've put yourselves out there to earn money for the trip. I think that's really excellent.
Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Chair Thompson. First off, Matthew and Sophie, thanks for being here tonight. I've said this before. This is the best part of this job, is when we get to connect with folks throughout the community. I live in Elmville myself, so it's a pretty special spot. And every year we've got to see, for the past few years, some pretty amazing students come forward to this table and share their stories and experiences when it comes to this exchange. I've had the opportunity of being in the school and meeting a lot of the folks that have participated in the exchanges over the past few years, so that's pretty special. And of course, I fully support the initiative, and I hope once you go and experience everything and folks come over to the Elmville community that you come back here and share your stories with us, because I think it's important, and I'm probably not the only one up here that would love to hear all about it. And one thing, make sure you take them to Lalone's maple syrup on the 8th concession when you bring them to Elmville. I think they'll enjoy that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Fisher. Anyone else? Deputy Mayor Cabral.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Two folks have spoken. I don't know if it's appropriate, but I think there's some money that they're looking for, and I just like to say that it's a pretty good cause. We've done it in the past. We should move forward with it again. If nobody else is going to speak, I think we just give them the cash and let them have it.
Works for me.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Cabral. So, Clerk Marshall, is there amendment to be read?
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. So it sounds like Deputy Mayor Cabral is putting forward an amendment to this motion, and that would read, the council hereby approve a donation in the amount of $2,000 to the EDHS for their student exchange program, with funds to be provided by the proceeds of the Springwater Swing Golf Tournament. We would just need a seconder then for that motion.
Councillor Garwood?
I'll second it.
I'll second it. We'll call the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you should tell them about our snow days as well before they come.
Thank you.
And we'll vote on the main motion as amended. Those in favor? And that's carried.
And now I can smile and say congratulations now that the vote has been cast. But just for the students and families that are here, as members of council, we are required to call declaration of interest. And as you know, my daughter is one of the lucky recipients of this trip. So I wanted to come out and say hello to everyone, but we have to keep that poker face and not influence the vote. But congratulations, and looking forward to it. So I can give you a minute if you want to. If you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, we can do that, but don't feel you're interrupted. We can take a quick break here, council. Do that. We're going to take a quick break. Thank you. I'm actually going to take that back. We'll do our break after question period, just so that Mr. Priest doesn't have to stick around all night. Perfect. And at this time, we'll move on to our question period, and I will ask if there's any members of the public that have questions for council. And if so, we do have one registered, and which is Mr. Priest. So if you would like to come forward to pose your question.
Hello,
And just your name and your address, please.
Walter Priest, 2868 Highway 26, Menacing.
And your question?
Okay, I am here because of an issue with garbage pickup on farms. I'll go through the history of my garbage collection at my farm shop, which is at 1411 Vesper Valley Road. So when garbage collection became available, we were allowed to put out our garbage. When the blue bins came out first, and mean the old manual square boxes came out, we were not given blue bins and our garbage was not picked up at that time. So I phoned the Mayor Tony Georges at that point, and Tony said, well, in his opinion, our garbage should have been picked up, and we were paying. At that time, there was a charge on the tax bill that was waste management. So that we should get garbage collection. So he said he would contact the county, and within 2 days, we had our blue boxes and we're told we could set out garbage. So this went fine. And my wife at that time worked at Georgian College. She just so happened to be sitting beside Harry Hughes, who's kind of famous from Oro. And Harry said, you should get garbage pickup at every property you own. It was his opinion at that time. So I'm forward to the new bins that came out in 2021. Despite bins being thrown off all over the neighborhood, sometimes in vacant lots, sometimes on farms with no buildings. I know of one that, it went to recreational property or whatever near the swamp. We got no bins. So at that time, I contacted County Waste Management and was told that we did not qualify for garbage pickup. So I contacted Mayor Don Allen and Deputy Mayor Jennifer Coughlin at that point, and they agreed to take my concerns to a special waste management workshop on October 26th, 2021, just prior to the new bin collection on which started November 1st, 2021. Unknown to me at the time, Mayor Allen and Deputy Mayor Coughlin moved a resolution at that meeting, It was Resolution 2021-336A, moved by Councillor Don Allen, seconded by Councillor Jennifer Coghlan, that carts and service be provided upon request to agricultural properties with a functioning shop where consistent agricultural business is being conducted. And in brackets beside that, these are minutes, county minutes, it says referred to staff. So I never got any response to that. I never got any bins or garbage pickup either. But in the, I believe it was a November 2021 Springwater News, Mayor Allen had a column where it wasn't the township official council. It was his musings or whatever. And he had a short paragraph in there, and I was unable to locate that, which will be something I bring up maybe at the end. So anyway, as I recall, Mayor Allen wrote something to the effect of sent to described the presentation you made to the county. And it was sent to staff to check on cost, and they were going to report back and see what could be done. He also had a couple of comments in this, and that came up in the meeting. Farms don't pay enough tax. Bins can be used for other purposes other than garbage. So, accusing perhaps me of wanting something to, have a feed cart or something. I don't know who made the comment, whether that was staff or other counselors or what, but anyway. So I never really heard anything. I bumped into the present Mayor Coghlan running up to the election in what was 2022. And your response was, well, at that point, council was kind of in a lame duck mode or whatever. It would have to be something that would wait for the next council. So anyway, I am asking council to support a motion, support a resolution similar to that 21-336A. That would allow farms with, as it says, a substantial or whatever the wording was there, sorry. Be it a farm shop or just being at a livestock operation or whatever, to get garbage pickup. I pulled a couple of tax bills from 2012 and 2013. 2012 was the last year that there was a line on the tax bills that for waste pickup or waste management. 2013, the tax bill was very similar, but no pickup allowed apparently. And this carries on to this day. We're down to one line on the tax bill. Everything is included in that one line. Waste management is in there somewhere, but people in my situation aren't getting it. And as to the comment in Mayor Allen's musings about not paying enough tax, I paid 8 tax bills, farm tax bills yesterday, and rent another 5 properties that someone else is paying farm tax on. And so it's just not one farm. And I want to make it clear that I am not asking for pickup on every farm in the county. I'm looking, for specific buildings or whatever. whether we had to apply or whatever to show that, you know, we deserved one or not. So that is my ask of council. So sorry, I stared at this.
No,
Okay, anyway.
That's no problem. Thank you, Mr. Priest, for the
Yeah.
comments, and I'll just turn to Deputy Corral. I'm hoping it was this term that we did have conversation. I believe it was Councillor Norcross of New Tech with myself that did bring it forward again to have the farm dwellings included in the ICNI properties, excluded from ICNI properties. So the industrial, commercial, and institutional. So it was brought up again this term. I think that the path I'd like to suggest forward is that council could ask our agricultural committee to come up with a recommendation and formally request that Deputy Cabral and I bring this. So it would give us a new avenue to bring this forward and having the committee's weight behind it. And that's what the committee is for. So I will turn to the chair of the committee, maybe during maybe not now, but maybe during items for future consideration or a notice of motion, or I guess we could.
Bring it up at the ag committee.
Okay, okay. So we will discuss a path forward, but I think that would, sorry, Councillor Thompson.
Just a question to Mr. Priest, and again, through the chair, thank you for coming. So are you looking for garbage pickup at 1411 or on all of your different farms?
No, just 1411.
Just
That-
1411.
That's my, if you look at it on Google Earth or whatever,
Yeah, I know
or
where
the
it- yeah.
county map,
Sure. Yeah.
it'll look like a big white barn with a lean-to on it or whatever. It is fixed up in the inside. It is a farm shop.
And excuse me for my ignorance.
No.
A farm shop, what exactly is that?
Well, we do repairs there. It's kind of our main base of operations. You know, at night machinery returns to that
Got it,
point,
okay.
and it's the fix-it place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Fisher.
Yeah, just a quick comment, and thanks to Mr. Priest for bringing this forward. Absolutely, we can bring this up with the Agricultural Committee. That's certainly what we're there for. And I do agree with your sentiments about tax bills on agricultural properties. There are a lot of farmers who own multiple properties and frankly pay a lot more tax accumulatively than any of us with our single family dwellings. So they are certainly big taxpayers within Springwater. But yes, I you know, having grown up on a farm, I know exactly what you mean. Having a base of operations where, you know, and there is refuse accumulated, right? So it should be treated the same. But I think that you're not just looking for it on your farm. I think it speaks to the industry,
Yes.
right? You know, we need to. You're one farmer within Springwater, and you know, I think that frankly, you bringing this forward, it's spread throughout the community, right? There's going to be many people who face the same issue, but thank you for bringing it up and being persistent with it, and we'll bring that back to council.
I'd be allowed 1 second.
Absolutely. Unless there's a whole
When
lineup of
I-
other people, but.
When I was trying to look up that article for the Springwater News, I approached the library in Midhurst and in Ellenville. Neither of them had an archive of the Springwater News. I don't know whether the county does. They're closed now, or like for the renovation. So I don't know whether there's an archive there. I contacted the owner of Springwater News. There's only, I think you can only go back 2 issues now. But she got a hold of me and said that she has some material from when she bought it in 2021, apparently. And she has some archive there. I was able to find the reader that you could use when Mike Jacobs owned the paper online, but that may disappear. I'm just would encourage the library or the archives or whatever to make sure it's not lost.
Thank you for that. And just on the note, it was Warden Basil Clark who referred to his green bin as his chicken feed storage. So
Oh,
that was the warden himself. So
Okay, well, mine won't be.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if there are no other comments or questions from members of the public, not seeing any, at this time, we will take a quick 10-minute break and we will return for our minutes. All right, so I think we'll get back. Okay. We now move on to item 8.1, and this is our minutes. May I have a mover and seconder for the minutes, please? I have councillors Alexander and Fisher, that the minutes of the council listed herein be approved as presented. We have the minutes of the regular meeting of council February 5th, 2025, the minutes of the special meeting of council February 5th, 2025, and the minutes of the special meeting of council closed session for February 5th, 2025. Are there any comments or questions on these minutes? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. We now have our minutes of our boards and committees, and mover and seconder, please. Councillors Thompson and Moore, that the minutes of the boards and committees and organizations listed here and be received for information. The minutes of the Agricultural Advisory Committee of September 10th, 2024, minutes of the Agricultural Advisory Committee meeting of December 3rd, 2024, the minutes of the Huronia West OPP Detachment Board meeting of December 4th, 2024, the minutes of the Agricultural Advisory Committee meeting of January 7th, 2025, and the minutes of the Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee of November 14th, 2024. Are there any comments or questions on these minutes? All those in favor? And that has carried. We will now move on to our action reports, and we have items 9.2 through 9.7. May I have a mover and seconder for this, please? Councillor Garwood and Councillor Fisher, that action reports items 9.2 through 9.7 be received and that the recommendations contained therein be approved as presented. 9.2, the Community Improvement Plan application Eagle Eye for bookkeeping of 4 Queen Street West. 9.3 is the financial acceptance request for the Cameron Estates phases 1 and 2. 9.4 is a contract extension for Aqua. 9.5 is the award of tender of the 2025-01 PW aggregate crushing. We will deal with 9.6 separately, which is the County of Simcoe bursary program, and 9.7, the amendment to the development charges bylaw. Councilor, are there any other items that you wish to have pulled to be dealt with separately? We are going to move 9.6. Councillor Garwood?
I just want to comment on 9.2, but I don't need redirection.
And your comments, please.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I just wanted to comment from a BIA perspective on the Community Improvement Plan. The CIP program is an important one from a BIA perspective. For those that don't know about the Community Improvement Plan, it is a financial incentive program that provides local businesses with the opportunity to provide or to apply, for grant funding to support investment in their commercial facilities. Initially in 2017, the CIP program, Council of the Day, put $50,000 towards that program. And today there's just a bit shy of $10,000 left in that account. I know many of the Queen Street and Elmville businesses have applied to that program, which significantly enhances our downtown core of our community. And it is a program that is very important to the BIA. So I'm really happy to see this local business take advantage of that and encourage other businesses throughout Springwater Township to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Garwood. So we do have 9.6 to be dealt with separately. Any comments, questions on anything? No? So this would be approving 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, 9.5, and 9.7. Council, all those in favor? And that has carried, and we will now move back to the County of Simcoe bursary program. And a mover and seconder for this, please. I have Councillor Moore and Councillor Thompson, and that the recommendation contained therein be approved as presented. Comments or questions on this one? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. And may I have a mover and second for the information reports, please? Councillors Garwood and Moore. That the report items listed herein be received for information. 1 is our bylaw services monthly activity report. Building monthly. 2 is the building monthly activity report of 2025. 3 is the November 2024 credit card report. 4 is the December 2024 credit card report. 5 is the December 2024 check register. 6 is the January 2025 check register. 7 is the Jolly Farms Apartments of 1409 County Road 92. And 8 is a red line revision for Midhurst Heights draft plan of subdivision RR 25-001. Councilor, are there any of these to be holds to be dealt with separately. Any comments and questions on the reports? All those in favor? And that has carried. And now, at this time, we'll move on to our updates, and I will turn to our interim CIO, Heron, for an update on the significant weather event.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening, Council. As you're all aware, we've been I'm trying to find the right words, and I've got different words I want to use, but basically we've been experiencing in the northern portion of the township a significant weather event that began on Monday. And it was in effect a near blizzard-like condition over the course of nearly 2 days. And I'm proud to tell you that we work with some very exceptional people. Some of them in the room with us today, and others who are still out in the field, and comprising Public Works and the Fire Department and Parks and Facilities. I was going to describe the experiences that they've gone through in assisting the public over the past several days. And it's been exceptional, heroic. And I decided I wasn't the one in the field. It would be preferable if we hear it directly from them. So with your permission, what I'd like to do is turn the voice over to the Director of Public Works, the Fire Chief, and Brianna from Parks and Facilities. And they can share with council and with the public some of the experiences that they basically stepped up to and endured, and the help that they rendered to the public, which was exceptional. And it's not limited to them. There was volunteers that stepped forward as well. We'd like to mention them. So with that, if with your permission, I'd like to turn it over to, would like to go first? Chief? Chief.
Thank you. Chief Kirk?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and through you to the rest of council. Fire's involvement in this situation began late hours of February 17th, where I believe the deputy, along with Public Works, proceeded to Floss Road 7 to start digging cars out and getting citizens to the warming center. In the early mornings of February 18th, with the request from our fire dispatch, they were requesting our UTV out of Fire Station 2 to start getting stranded motorists back off the many roads and into our warming center. It was a daunting task, to say the least. Our UTV ended up getting stuck in about 5 feet of snow, and it led to us requesting snowmobiles from the OPP to assist in the endeavor of getting the many people evacuated from their cars to the warming center. The operation of removing people from their vehicles concluded with the last occupants getting out of their vehicle after 26 hours on February 18th at approximately 6 p.m. Those two individuals were very lucky. They're mildly hypothermic, and it was a good thing that they had a full tank of gas to get them through to us being able to access them. I can quote, "It was nothing like I ever seen," from our deputy, who is born and raised in Elmville. So it was a daunting task for not only Public Works, but the fire people to try to get the residents to the warming center. Also within this time frame, our crews were kept busy. Multiple vehicle accidents, smells of gas due to the snow loads on the roofs. I'm happy to report our crews from Fire Station 5 did a commendable job. They went over and above and shoveled the rooftop units off the public school in Elmville, and then rapidly proceeded to another motor vehicle collision on Orr Lake Road. So I would be remiss if I didn't thank a number of individuals. Obviously, our fire station staff, again, went over and above. And they never cease to amaze me at how they serve our community. I would also like to thank the Deputy Fire Chief for his unwavering support. I know he eats and breathes firefighting, and he's hard to put down and tell him to go get some rest, but that's the type of individual he is. So I definitely have to acknowledge his efforts. Also, Brianna Dean, our manager of Parks and Rec, she did a phenomenal job in the warming center, from serving food to playing with the kids to taking pressures off some of the parents to feeding dogs. It was a great effort on her behalf. And also our communications officer. Without Nicole Adet, the information wouldn't be getting out to the public as to the road closures and what progress we're making. Secondly, I am so grateful for the community of Elmville. The residents came together, our community partners came together, supplying the food, offering up assistance through Councillor Garwood, and providing toys, blankets, coffee from Tim Hortons. They were willing to, come in, and I don't know how many people we had come into the warming center that offered to go home and cook meals for people. So it was truly amazing to see the community come forward. So with that, I'm also very, very grateful. And lastly, our public works staff. They have such a task ahead of them, and I know there's potentially some video that the deputy has that shows what they're up against, but they're going to be working a long time through this. Hopefully Mother Nature cooperates with us over the next 2 or 3 days so we can get some cleanup done. And then lastly, obviously, Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Garwood, I appreciate the efforts in making sure the warming center was open and coordinating staff. And lastly, the OPP. Without those partners, we would have still been trying to get people out of vehicles. So we're indebted to the OPP as well. So that's my report. And if the deputy has anything he would like to jump in with.
Maybe if you just come to the, thank you.
It's just short and sweet, but I've also always heard the quote, I've had to walk 2 miles to go to school uphill in a blizzard both ways. I experienced that. It's a true thing, believe it or not. Like the chief said, just incredible. Nothing I've ever seen before. Blizzard, just phenomenal. But the folks of Elmville are truly amazing people, everybody that helped out. So thanks to all them. So
Thank you. Thank you. Director Harvey?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Coughlin, to council and public, I just thought, I do believe staff have put together a few slides, and if Jennifer wouldn't mind putting them up there, I just thought a picture's worth 1,000 words. Perhaps you would see what Public Works are dealing with, and I think it needs to be stated that we're not out of the woods yet with regards to this. There's going to be numerous days here of cleanup. But I'd like to take this opportunity just to speak to the dedication of the staff. A couple things that come to mind. I mean, obviously the chief's outlined a number of things. I won't reiterate that, but what I really noticed was the resourcefulness and the ingenuity of staff. And one example I'd like to give you, because these individuals are sort of the unsung heroes. You don't always see them, but they're out here on the roadways, ensuring that our roads are cleared and safe. And one thing that comes to mind is that, I don't know if you know, on Floss 7 at Yard 2, there was the old V plow that used to sit on the front of the property there, more as a monument. Well, it was resurrected and put on a grader, and it was old school. We actually had a retiree come and show the current staff how to install it on the grader and adapt it. And suffice it to say that that's the piece of equipment you see there right now that's trying to punch holes and provide access to some of these roads. I just thought that needed to be pointed out. Apparently, according to some staff, that hadn't been in use since 2014. You know, it's the ingenuity, I think, to be able to bring that piece of equipment back into service. And I just wanted to point that out. And I'd like to outline just, you know, the dedication of the public works staff. Goes right from supervisors to public works operations and coordination of other people in this room. So I appreciate it all.
Thank you, Director. Either Manager Dean or Director.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and to yourself and the rest of council. So in addition to what everyone else has spoken about tonight, would like to greatly thank the community. I spent a lot of the last couple of days in the warming center and back and forth with our public works team and our fire and emergency services teams. So with all of our operators out there helping clear people and fire services, bringing people in, our parks and facilities staff who plow parking lots and water treatment plants and other facilities, swiftly moved to shoveling thousands of pounds of snow off roofs, to have HVAC units working in our facilities, to have heat continued for areas to bring people in facilities and keep them warm and sheltered, as well as our aqua plants and other plants operational. And on top of that, just the community. It was, I've never heard so many people say that truly to see the amount of people that stepped up, brought food and different items in for people to feel as comfortable as they could for multiple days with children and a lot of seniors there. So the community was there. They were able to get prescriptions filled at the local pharmacy. So it really was truly great to see really anything that people needed outside of their own bed being available to them for the last couple of days. So we just, yeah, a big thank you out to everyone and our operations staff who are making a lot of headway on our roads to allow people to drive safely now.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the update. And I think that it's always impressive to see how, I know we have departments within the corporation, but it's times like this where it's one team, and the way that everybody pulled together and worked together, and you know, nothing was outside of anyone's job description. Everybody just did whatever they could in that time. So I think this is a testament to the corporation that we have and the communities that we serve. So thank you very much for everything that you've done. I have Deputy Cabral and Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said. I tell you, it was a storm like none other. And I happen to live up in the north end, as you know, east-west roads. And if you looked on Google Maps on Wednesday, they were all red. They were all closed. I want to say that it's two different worlds when you're in Elmville and when you're outside of Elmville. And sometimes folks don't really understand how it can be that way. I haven't been able to get to Elmville for 2 days or so. What I wanted to do, though, is also, in addition to thanking our wonderful staff and the great folks in Elmville that came out and did everything they could to help the folks that were stranded, that we know were brought into Elmville from outside on these concession roads, is a shout out to our farmers, because I can tell you right now, starting on, I guess it would have been Monday night, they were pulling vehicles out, because that's where folks go when they see a light. They walk up that driveway, they rap on that door, next thing you know, there's a farmer. One of the farmers I know personally here, 7 vehicles on Monday night. And even this morning, the road was still closed. And I have to give a shout out to the plow operators, because they tried to come up the 10th as far as they could, and even they couldn't punch it all the way through. And there was about 4 or 5 farmers with their big tractors and blowers. They were actually the ones that were trying to help people get out, because the road's horrible and miserable, like some of those photographs that you saw. And folks were still trying to drive on these roads first thing this morning, and they really had nowhere that they could go, and ended up turning around. And I won't say what it was. It was a big, long yellow thing that tried to get down the road, and it tried to back out and promptly got stuck. And once again, a couple of the local farmers managed to pull that yellow thing out, just needed a bit of a nudge. But I just wanted to say that when you talk about community coming together, the farmers out here, out pretty much all night long the other night trying to pull people out of the ditch. And I suspect that'd be on just about every concession in the north end of Springwater. So kudos to staff, kudos to our farmers too. Thank you.
Councillor Garwood.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And yes, I won't reiterate all of the thanks because I think we could be here forever. Honestly, we are incredibly blessed to have staff and community that go above and beyond. I will share a little story. We were speaking to somebody at the warming center, and this individual was not from the Elmville community, but she said if I was going to get stuck anywhere, thank goodness it was Elmville, because the people that came out are dedicated staff, and again, not always. It's a community hall usually. We were not prepared that night to necessarily have 100+ folks be in there, but staff did incredible. There is still a mountain of pillows and blankets and food dishes and trays that are still left over from all of the meals and all of the support and everything that everyone's done. So thank you to the chief and the deputy chief, especially Brianna, our manager Dean, and the folks at Station 5 and Yard 2. You are outstanding, and I can't say enough. Thank you.
And I'll turn back over to our CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to add that in terms of the people who were assisted, at the height of the event, the township was hosting upwards of 100 people who had been stranded, some of them who had been impacted by being in an accident, an automobile accident, some of them who were pulled out of their cars that were basically trapped on some of the roads, and some of them who just had made it to Elmville but couldn't leave. There was no way out of town. As of this morning at 11 o'clock, there were still 3 individuals taking advantage of the warming center. So it had served an immense purpose to assist the public in this trying time. And there are some side stories that experiences that are worthy of being told. For instance, the deputy chief wading through snow up to his armpits to get to a car that was stranded. So when he tells you about his experience in the snow, his experience is only one of many of the individuals who are out there. So great appreciation from ourselves to them.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I'm hopeful that everyone gets a break from this. So and at that time I will turn to Deputy Cabral if there's a county update this evening.
No county update, Mayor Coughlin.
And any additional municipal updates, or I think that's Councillor Fisher.
All right, I have a few. One, I'd like to thank the Midhurst Lions Club. They hosted their first, but I'm sure it'll be an annual event, Moonlight Trails and Fireside Tales. Essentially, it was a fire. Fire was singing and a lot of snowshoeing out on just off of Old Second. I gotta say, it was their first event, and frankly, it was a pretty blustery night. I rode my snowmobile out there, and I didn't expect much turnout. I was wrong. Actually, the cars were lined up, and it was a really nice evening. The other thing, Family Day Skate put on by the Midhurst CRA. We've been doing this for a few years now. Also have a fire pit set up. Great turnout again. We had hot chocolate. Thank you for staff for coming and plowing ahead of time, because we really had no space for people before that plow. So that was great. And the last thing I wanted to touch on, actually, this would be the 3rd meeting we've had for the OPP Detachment Board in Wasaga Beach. And I thank Wasaga Beach and their mayor for hosting it. Just a few quick things I wanted to touch on. I hear from a lot of people in my community, we don't see this police a lot, what's going on with policing in the community. I've actually been very impressed with the detachment commander and his targeted approach to policing. I just wanted to share this one stat with you that stood out in all of the stats that they give to us. Since 2023, 2024, and 2025, give the average in January, this is the average hours patrolled in Springwater, was or with Huronia West, sorry, was 505 hours in 2023. In 2024, it went to 549, so roughly 50 hours. And in 2025, January, 776. So we're, about 270 hours more of patrol that we've seen from our OPP services in the area. So often I think our public may not see them, but they're certainly very active. And even instances like we saw in Elmvale, they're very active and there for us. The response times are very good. And so I just wanted to provide you guys with a bit of an update from the services board. I can tell you it's been very enlightening for me. I'll also say I think we're very well represented. Two of our members are former police officers, including our deputy mayor. And some of the discussions around the table with the department head, very enlightening as to what policing is, what they actually deal with that we're lucky enough probably not to see ourselves, but they have to deal with as members in law enforcement. And, I think it's actually a really good board to be part of. And I will say that we're well represented, but also the other areas like Clearview and Wasaga Beach. I think it's actually a really good group. We have a good working group there. And so, yeah, that's my update on that.
And a question on that, the stats that they're doing when OPP was downloaded, when Huronia was downloaded the Highway 400 series, do they break that up? Do they apply those hours to Springwater, or are those hours kept separate?
You know what? This question did come up, and I believe they're separated, actually. So, yeah, I can actually provide members of council with this as well. It's like I say, if I went, I'd be here all night going with it, but it's very, very interesting. It breaks up different offenses. It makes you really understand the targeted approach that the detachment commander talks about. It's not just reactionary. I think under his leadership, that, like I say, they've really targeted. They know where crimes could happen. They make themselves available. Also, when it comes to response times, that was a topic of discussion. And like I say, it's not reactionary. I think they really are. It's smart policing, and it's been enlightening for me. But I certainly think too. There was a discussion about morale at Huronia West, and again, you can judge management, and I think when we talk with these individuals there, I think that it seems like morale is higher, and it it makes for better community policing. It's what they talk about. So, but I can certainly provide that to other members of council.
Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Would like to just thank the menacing CRA for a job well done for Minifest. It was held a week last weekend, really well attended and really well organized, and they did a great job. Would also like to let everybody know that libraries across Canada will celebrate Freedom to Read Week next week. And in Canada, we enjoy these freedoms and we should take advantage of them. And would invite everybody to drop into one of our branches of the Springwater Public Library and check out a book. Thank you.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. First, I would like to congratulate the Elmvale Community Recreation Association for hosting our fundraiser on Valentine's Day. Loving in a small town. We had a sold out show, 204 tickets sold, which was really exciting. The community hall was full, and it was an absolutely excellent night. And every dollar raised from that event will go directly back into the Elmvale community through recreation initiatives. So we're pretty excited about that. Of course, our Family Fun Fest that the ECRA usually runs, unfortunately was postponed due to the significant weather event on Family Day. The family skate at the arena still proceeded as the arena was open at that time. And it was great to see some families come on out. Wasn't as busy as we'd expected because of the weather, but it was still nice to be able to have an avenue and an opportunity for folks that were in town and unable to go anywhere else that could have a nice skate at the arena. So it was a busy weekend in Elmville for the Recreation Association.
Councillor Alexander?
Thank you. So last Sunday on the 9th, the Phelpston CRA hosted a family fun day, which was amazing. There was a great turnout. There was a family skate along with a barbecue, as well as a horse-drawn not carriage. Well, it started as a horse-drawn sleigh, and then as the snow started to come off the roads, they had to run back and switch to the wagon because there were so many people wanting to take the rides, and unfortunately the snow was off the road. But it was a great community event, and it was nice to finally be able to have a family day event outside again. You know, a lot of snow, a lot of issues with the snow, but the cold weather has been very good for our outdoor rinks. So it was a great day. So thank you to all the volunteers that made that happen.
Yeah. And not seeing any further updates at this time, we can move on to our notices of motion, and I will turn to Councillor Garwood and a seconder for the notice of motion, Councillor Thompson, and over to Councillor Garwood.
Whereas Shareware provides free clothing to community members, including those in need, newcomers to Canada, and individuals facing financial hardship by alleviating clothing expenses. Whereas Shareware helps residents direct their resources towards essentials like rent and food, and whereas charitable organizations like Shareware play a vital role in our community by addressing critical needs, which improves the overall well-being of Township of Springwater residents, and whereas Shareware, has requested to use the Elmville Community Hall on April 4th and 5th, 2025, to raise awareness and community support for Shareware, and whereas the rental fees associated with the use of the Elmville Community Hall could represent a financial burden to Shareware as a volunteer-run non-profit charity. Rental fees would significantly impact their ability to fundraise and maintain services. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Springwater hereby approves the one-time waiver of rental fees for the use of the Elmville Community Hall by Shareware on April 4th and 5th, 2025, subject to the terms and conditions of the facilities rental contract, and that staff report back on amending the existing policy A09-REC Service Club meeting fee waiver policy to include waiving rental fees for one-off events for eligible service clubs who operate within the Township of Springwater.
Thank you. Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. So further to the motion, this was brought to me by the Shareware Group. Shareware has been operating in the Elmville community for many years now, and for those that might be or might not be aware, as noted in the motion, they are a storefront space on Queen Street in Elmville. Everything in their store or in their space is free. It's an opportunity for anyone to walk in and donate and or take something in return. It helps many members of the community, but especially those that need it the most. Shareware is looking to continue to make a significant impact, not just in Elmville, but in the township as a whole and neighboring communities as well. And in their request, of course, they're looking for support for a two-day event at the community hall. Additionally to that, Council has passed a service club meeting fee waiver policy. Of course, the policy speaks to service club meeting fees and not one-off events. So in conversations with staff, this would not meet the meeting fee waiver policy because it is not a meeting, it is a one-off event. Specifically speaking, in regards to what that report might look like coming back, primarily I would be looking at staff providing some information on including with these one-off events for specific service clubs that met the already existing definition that exists within the policy today. So it would be very minor tweak to an existing policy. We would not be broadening the scope of which groups would be eligible. We would just primarily be opening it up for events as well that might occur throughout our municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garwood. Are there any comments or questions on this, Councillor Fisher?
So first off, question, would this not be would this be considered a service club?
I can turn to Councillor Garwood or to Director Culver. Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Colgan, and I will also defer to Director Culver. We have had conversations, and I don't want to put words in staff's mouth, but from the conversations that I've had, yes, this would fit the definition. The definition in the policy itself speaks to a variety of points. There's 5 points specifically, one being a registered not-for-profit, a second being comprised primarily of volunteers, a third being it's a direct benefit for fundraising community-led initiatives. Again, this hits that. So there are multiple points, and in my opinion, it hits all 5 points.
Director Culver?
Thank you, Mayor. And so through you, so the definition of service club, if council recalls the conversation around the policy, was left somewhat deliberately open to allow for entities that didn't fit the reason why the policy was being brought forward. So in the conversation with Councillor Garwood, we certainly said, you know, feasibly shareware could meet that definition. However, again, referring back to the conversation around the policy, the intent of the policy was for these sort of almost passive meeting type events where there was little to no impact on the facility, and that that was sort of, it was an easier kind of concession to make to allow for these meetings. And it also followed a bit of a historical trend that had been disrupted at some point. So we couldn't find a way to make the shareware event fit the policy criteria or parameters. So that was where we recommended that Councillor Gar would bring it back to council for discussion.
Following?
So yeah, so my worry is this. I mean, one, it's precedent setting. With other meetings, in your words, Mr. Culver, there's little impact on the facility. My worry is this, and certainly, you know, any type of charitable organization, you'd like to open up your doors to them. My worry is that, you know, if we start to loosen our criteria, and this is what I see happening, pretty soon anybody can use the facility. You know, it becomes quite vague, and then the taxpayer and our staff members are, you know, essentially running the facility, opening it, cleaning it, and we're not taking any sort of revenue. My worry is that because it's vague and we I guess push the limit, it then becomes precedent setting, and just about anybody can use it because we've allowed this organization to happen to do it. So that's my worry.
And thank you. And I do have Councillors Garwood and Thompson. And I think you are correct. Anybody can use it as long as they are a nonprofit organization with a charitable status and run by volunteers. So any user group, whether it's Lions or whether it's a Lioness or anybody else with a non-for-profit charitable organization status would be able to use it. So it wouldn't just be for groups off the street. So Director Culver, and then I have Councillor Garwood and then Thompson.
Through you, Mayor, and thanks. I just for clarification, because I think there are 2 points to Councillor Garwood's motion. One is the single shareware event and waiving fees on this single occasion. And then the second part is to refer back to staff an opportunity to research and investigate whether constraints could be put in place that would allow for council to make a decision around the free use for those that meet the criteria. We haven't evaluated that at this point, so you're correct. There is a slippery slope potential, but we would request the opportunity to digest and reflect on that before. And I think that's in line with what Councillor Garwood is motioning.
Thank you, Councillor Garwood and then Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. And yes, further to Director Culver's comments, that is correct. And just to clarify as well, just a bit of context, Council did approve the Service Club meeting fee waiver policy. I believe it was just this past fall, November the 6th, I believe it was. So this is a relatively new approval. So the definition was approved by this body just a few months ago. But within that definition, it does say has a clear service mission that includes participating in charitable fundraising for local community projects within the Township of Springwater. So you could say there's a slippery slope or precedent setting, but again, this is why we have policies. So we create policies to ensure that folks fit within those guidelines. I'm sure there's many policies that this council has approved. I think of one being the digital sign policy that we have amended multiple times to fit additional groups as they continue to come forward as we implement them. So again, this is not a request that I've received at least often. I think this is the first one of the term of this nature, but I surely hope council can get behind it because it's a great initiative. And even if it does pose a cost to the municipality, it is supporting our community.
Councillor Thompson?
Through the chair to Councillor Garwood, this event, 2-day event, could you explain it a little bit more?
Councillor Garwood?
Absolutely. Yes, Councillor Thompson, through the mayor to yourself and to the rest of council. Again, I'm not a part of the event planning, so I can't give you the specifics, but what I can tell you is I believe each year the Shareware, and actually I received a really wonderful letter from the Shareware group that spoke to their initiative, so I could just read a portion of it. It says, to raise awareness and community support for Shareware, we are hosting a spring fashion show. This event aims to engage the community, increase clothing donations for our ministry, and divert clothing away from landfills. As a volunteer-run, non-for-profit charity, rental fees would significantly impact our ability to fundraise and maintain our service level, and could jeopardize our ability to raise awareness of Shareware and continue to provide this benefit to the entire community.
Follow on?
So should this get approved, and I hope it does, I would like to offer your service as a model during the fashion show, number one, and number two. I have had an experience with Shareware. So this past fall, I didn't know anything about them. So I just was walking down the street one day and I dropped in, and it was just, to me, it was like a shining light in the community. Another one, it's something I didn't even know. I'd heard about it, but I hadn't had an experience with it. So while I was there, I met two of their clients who were new to our area. They were actually new to our country and new to our climate. And Shareware was outfitting them with winter clothing, and which they probably really needed last week. So I see this as a great opportunity to show some support to some amazing community members doing great work, and I will be wholeheartedly approving this.
Thank you. Deputy Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Through you, obviously, it's hard to not want to support somebody who's doing good work within the community. But if there's no money being taken in, it does bring to question how they're funding. I know, Councillor Garwood, you used the term ministry. I would suspect that there's some ministerial organization that is backing Shareware or funding Shareware or organizing the location. Is that a ministry within Springwater Township, do you know, or is that a ministry outside of Springwater Township? I just would like to hope it's someone within our own borders. That's all.
Councillor Garwood?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and through you to the Deputy Mayor. I believe the term ministry in the letter that I received was referencing the Elmville Community Church, which operates Shareware. They're volunteers and members of the community. That's an initiative that I believe they've been advocating for.
Councillor Alexander?
Thank you. Question for Director Culver. First off, obviously, I'm well aware of the organization. They do amazing work. With respect to kind of staff's needing to evaluate the policy, it makes me want, like, just essentially I'm wondering how long is staff going to need to evaluate this policy? Because if it's just a tweak here and a tweak there, which I'm hopeful it is, then could we be able to evaluate the policy, redo it, and then be able to, you know, in a timely fashion, waive the fee versus, I feel like a number of times, and I'm not, we all do it, but we make these policies, we do these studies, reviews, we do these policies, and then we consistently go outside of them. So if we can change it and tweak it and evaluate it in a timely fashion, is that a possibility, Director Culver? So we are able to move forward with this.
Director Culver?
Thank you, Mayor Cogman. Thanks for the question, Councillor Alexander. So I'm currently working on the fees and charges report that council had requested. Trying to expedite that as well because I know they wanted to have a formulaic approach to fees and charges. The primary workload associated with this request has to do with research related to you know, conjuring and talking to other municipalities about how they might put identifiers, or for lack of a better term, constraints that allow that protect against sort of the slippery slope, to overuse the term. I think it could be back in late March potentially. I'm hesitant only because I'm just trying to conjure a work plan that would have it come back to you in the timely fashion you're requesting. So without making a promise, I'm hoping it's okay to sort of target the end of March. And I'll also sort of, you know, remind council that council has the ability to waive any policy, at any time. So I'll hopefully call that my best answer I can provide right now, and take direction.
Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. If I could just ask that when you are doing the review, my only issue that I had with this motion is the language around service club. Because when I think of service club, and I think the original intent of this policy for service club was for folks like the Lions Club or Girl Guides and those sorts of clubs. And I don't see that this fits within the service club bubble, but maybe you could put some language in the new policy review that sort of includes these sort of grayer areas.
Director Culver?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. I think that's exactly one of the problems, is that this was initiated through an effort to support service clubs, and there is the generic kind of identifier service clubs, which I understood. It was really the conversation at the council level that kind of broadened and made sure that we had a list of criteria that was broader than sort of what service clubs are restricted to. I remember the conversation being about having an affiliation with a like a higher order, like the Lions National, but council wanted to make sure that that wasn't a limiter. And so that kind of already starts to create a bit of a grayness. Having said that, I understood how we got here, and take your point, and would look to change the language so that we're talking about effectively not-for-profit policy.
Councillor Fisher?
Just a comment on it. I truly do want to support it, and I don't doubt for a moment. I did a bit of research on this organization today, and I'm sure they do amazing things in the community. This is sometimes, I think, one of those parts of this job that is uncomfortable. I do believe it becomes a slippery slope. My understanding is, yes, service clubs were things like the Lions Club. I think this will present problems in the future for us. So unfortunately, although I dislike it and I do want to support it, I just don't feel that I can because of that.
I'll go to Councillor Garwood for a final comment.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Coughlin, and thank you to staff for the discussions in preparation to this, and council for the conversation tonight. Just to put a pin in something, I would like to remind council that on November the 6th, this council approved the definition of service club 3.5 months ago. This council, in this policy. So if you disagree with this definition, then you are disagreeing with your own definition of what service club is. Thank you.
Councillor Fisher?
I thank you for that, Councillor Garwood. However, I can tell you that the definition seems quite vague to me, right? So on my, I can tell you if it was interpreted that way, that's certainly how I interpreted it. I think if we're going to open it up, it opens up the floodgates to all sorts of organizations. And I know we're saying, oh, it's charities and stuff like this. It's a very vague definition. So I understand what you're saying, but again, it's a slippery slope. And I think that sometimes we need to be adult about it and think about the future and what precedent it does set. So unfortunately, I can't support it.
Makes it difficult to call last comment, and then you make things like calling adult, and then you're gonna have to go back and forth about adult decisions, and let's just make it, thank you, that would be great. So I think for myself, I'm in full support of this. I think that anytime that we have a local charitable organization or service club that comes forward, renewing the policy is one thing, but I would like to see this, us encourage this, and if we can encourage the formation of more charitable clubs or service clubs or volunteers within them, or our support, I think that we should do so in any way, shape that we can. So at this time, I have Councillor Garwood has read the motion. Oh, sorry. Oh, and I think, oh, it's Deputy Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. I was going to actually be quite frank, try and stay out of the fray here because I do support the shareware concept. But I have to be leery because there's a lot of service groups out there and youth groups out there that pay to rent gymnasiums on a regular basis to hold their meetings, you know, and if we're going to just open it up holy woly to everybody out there, it won't take long, I don't think, and I hate to say it, for us to find out that it's a lot easier to maybe hold your meeting at a town facility than it is to pay to utilize a school gymnasium. So I think we have to be mindful of that. We have to be careful of that. Maybe what we should do in this policy is like we did with the digital sign policy. Maybe there should be some kind of screening mechanism in place. I don't think every single one of these needs to come before council. I'd support this one off, but I can't say that I would continue to support them going down the road. That's my only fear. And having said what I've just said, if I was running even a scout group and it was costing me $35 to have my meetings at a school, and I could then turn around and say, well, I fit that criteria, I want to have my meetings at the town facility for free, somebody's still going to be cleaning that town facility. Somebody, you know, schools are pretty good too, and they're making it as economically possible. Maybe what we should be considering in that policy is maybe a reduced rate for charitable organizations. So those would be my thoughts. If they're going to review the policy, they might want to consider doing something like that. But, and the other piece would be maybe there should be some ad hoc committee that basically reviews folks that want to take advantage of that. And then if they meet the criteria that this council decides is in place, let them be the ones to decide. So that's my thoughts on it. And it's a difficult place to be. You know, you want to do as much as you can for the community, but at the same time, have to be respectful of our taxpayers. They're the ones that are going to be paying the soft dollars to keep these facilities running and keep these facilities clean. And we also have to be mindful that it also means that someone who was prepared to pay for the facility, the rental fee, is now going to be denied that opportunity because we're giving the space away for free. So there's a lot more to this than just, sounds like a great idea, let's just go ahead and do it. You got to really kind of pull back the pages a little bit and start reading the back and the front, not just what's at the face value. Thanks.
And not seeing anything further, council, all those in favor? And that has carried. We'll move on to our second notice of motion, and this is moved by Deputy Cabral. And for context, council, at the last meeting when this was brought forward, three members of council did receive an email, and in the meeting, I said 3 members of council, and then I only spoke to myself and Councillor Garwood. So for clarification, I did reach out to Deputy Cabral. I didn't think it was appropriate in that meeting to turn to him and say, hey, are you in too? So Deputy Cabral and Clerk Marshall had worked, and it is the intention. So I do believe this is pretty straightforward, but I will let Deputy Cabral speak to this.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Reality is that this is a bit of housekeeping to make sure that the minutes reflect what they should have probably reflected at the last meeting. I did receive the correspondence. I did reply. I didn't necessarily say that particular piece, but I did use the word I'd support them 100%. So I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. And can I have a seconder for this, please? I am Councillor Garwood. So this is moved by Deputy Cabral and seconded by Councillor Garwood that 1,000 from the Deputy Mayor's discretionary fund be awarded to the Elmvale Ballpark Committee towards replacing the existing lighting at the Elmvale Ballpark located at 14 George Street. All those in favor? And that has carried. And are there any items for future consideration? Oh, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coughlin. Actually, I'm hoping that I could do a little housekeeping myself too and waive procedural bylaw. So we could just put a quick motion on the floor for some, what I forgot to add to my motion last meeting. And I did forward a request to Director Heron, but he felt that it would probably require council approval, and it was a unanimous vote. So I'm feeling like it is housekeeping. So if we could do that, it would be much appreciated.
I guess that would be a motion then to, is there an urgency to this, or why would we? Is this something that we can have in advance to look at?
We've already looked at it. So what I'm asking for is just to have the motion that was passed at the last meeting forwarded to the provincial facilitator. I missed adding that to my motion. I should have. So I think I need to add that now and ask that get forwarded.
I don't know if we need to waive the procedural bylaw. I don't know. I don't see any problem. Do you require formal direction to send it to the facilitator, or is that something, I mean, it's public record, so see it, Karen?
The matter was discussed in open session, so it is a public record. I think the distinction that's being requested through Councillor Moore is that we marry it to the discussions that have been occurring in closed session on the topic of Barrie wanting to annex lands from its neighbors. The motion itself, while I can't really discuss in public what has been discussed in closed, the motion does not fully represent what has been discussed in closed. So my intention with Councillor Moore's request was council has formed a working group to discuss City of Barrie matters. We're striving to get a working group meeting for next week and report the request through the working group, which is specifically a City of Barrie closed session matter. It does represent a voice of council. The motion itself represents a voice of council, which without going into detail, is a new voice. So there's a rationale from the staff perspective that the motion itself be discussed internally with council relative to those continuing internal discussions, so that any forwarding of the motion itself could be couched with further opinion from council.
Okay.
It's procedural, and
I was just looking for the easiest, most straightforward, not requiring 7 different votes here. But if we want to, so we're going to have to waive the procedural bylaw, pull up the old motion, bring it, have that reconsidered, then read the motion, amend the motion. Can we not just provide direction that it be sent to? Okay. Okay.
Which is all of them.
Perfect. So now the easiest way to do that then is to have notice without motion.
Yeah.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you. Thank you for your indulgence. And I don't want to complicate this. I really don't. If I wanted to add something to the motion that's being forwarded, can I do that? Or should we just keep this nice and clean and just send the one piece of paper off?
Thank you. So if you would, so the existing open public motion, if you want that amended, we would have to go back, open it up and amend it so that it looks different, because right now it's already public record. So if we're going to change the public record, we have to have public record of change public record. So if it's just to get that has been there and then sent to Shelling, I'm happy to even send it from our offices together. It's a simple email. Okay. Thank you. No problem.
That's fine.
Any other items for future consideration? Any other notices of motion? And Councillor Fisher, we had spoke about, do you want to, we'll just have that on the next agenda? Okay, perfect. And then, so now we're moving on to bylaws. May I have a mover and seconder to approve the bylaws, please? I have Councillor Deputy Cabral and Councillor Alexander that the bylaws listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. 2025-020 financial acceptance of the Cameron Estates, 2025-021 aqua contract, operation maintenance of the water wastewater systems. 2025-022 amend traffic and parking bylaw schedule. A, no parking on Bearberry Road. Are there any questions on this on the bylaws? And not seeing any. All those in favor? And that has carried. And mover and seconder for the confirmation bylaw, please. Councillors Moore and Fisher, that bylaw 2025-023 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on February 19th, 2025, listed here and be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? That's carried. And a mover and seconder for adjournment, please. I have Councillors Garwood and Thompson that the regular meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 8:53 p.m. to meet again in the regular meeting on March 5th, 2025 at 6:30. All those in favor? And that has carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.